So I am the executive producer for sports. I think we were a little bit short on time, so I'm going to run a little bit faster. But we touched on a couple of EA games earlier, so we'll have a good balance. But the fortunate thing is we're going to talk about sports today, which I think is a better story for EA. A lot of what we think about when we think about video games is creating a world for our players to kind of immerse themselves in so they can deeply engage in that world. And when we think about worlds, there's few, in my opinion, that have the appeal of sport. Appeal in terms of appealing across the world, appealing across gender, demographic, age, etc., etc. Sports has a huge appeal. And then when we think about it, we think, how big is that appeal? How big is the market? We may have that same delay, potentially. Okay. We look into sports a lot. We're a sports business, and we estimate, based on the research we have, that the market's worth about $700 billion globally. I also, for what it's worth, see other numbers reported elsewhere. And to be honest, today is a little bit less about the value of the sports market and more partly about the fact that it's big, but more around the fact that we have a lot of fans of these sports that are deeply engaged in those sports. We know that the Super Bowl last year had over 150 million viewers in the US alone, and that's just a North American football game. We know that the London Olympics had 3.5 billion viewers, and we know that the 2014 Soccer World Cup had about 3.2 billion. So these are huge groups of people that are deeply engaged in the sports that they follow, viewing the sports on a regular basis, and are essentially consuming as much content and experiences around these sports as they can. So our vision as a group is actually to become the biggest brand for sports on mobile. So not just sports gaming brand, but sports brand on mobile. We actually think we have a good shot at being able to do that for three key reasons. One, there's a huge growth potential for sports on mobile. If we think about HD or console, the category of sports is worth about 15 to 20%. And on mobile, it's only about 3 to 5. So it's a huge opportunity if we build the right type of games. We've also seen from our success with Madden Mobile over the last couple of years, which I'll dig into in a little bit more detail, where we've built a business and grown a business 10x in 2 years. If we put the right game in the market, we can actually realize some of that opportunity. Secondly, just the sheer volume of players that we acquire and engage on a daily basis is massive. It's over 100 million at the moment with the current sports games that we have. And then finally, and possibly most important to today, it's the value of the brand and the brands that we have and the IPs that kind of roll up as part of that brand. And that's really one of our key USPs or key differentiators that I believe will give us the ability to kind of capture and engage that huge global audience of people who love sport and love any piece of content, experience that has to do with that sport. So if we think about brand, we think about our brand, EA Sports brand, and all the franchises that roll up as part of that brand. It's a huge brand. It's synonymous with sport. It regularly gets reported as one of the top 10 global brands for sports, has a huge reach of players, and an audience base. I believe we have over 150 million players of our sports games. We have over 130 active users of our web network every month. We have over 70 million followers of the various social channels. And I could give you, boring stat after boring stat, but the point is, it's a huge player base that's aligned with the brand of EA Sports. When they think of that brand of EA Sports, they think of four key things, or all the research and all the conversations we've had with our players is it kind of groups into four key things when they think about EA Sports. They think about the competitive culture. So we have the biggest online community of people and players that you can connect with and play competitively against. They think about quality and innovation. Our gameplay is the highest quality and the most authentic to sport. That really is the next kind of gen of interactive and immersive sports experiences. They think about how our products have now turned into these live services where we provide different, fresh, new ways for our players to interact with our games on a constant basis. We tie those new ways to the sports that they love, as well as the real-world seasons that the sports kind of interact within. And then finally, it's all about community. We listen to our players before, during, and after each of our launches, and we ensure that that kind of fan feedback, not all of it's good, some of it's bad, some of it's constructive, but we make sure that we listen to it and react to it so that that fan feedback is at the core of every experience that we build. So that's what we believe people think about when they think of the EA Sports brand, and that's how we think about it internally. But that's a lot to kind of take in. It's a big brand. It's a lot to take in, and we ask ourselves, how do we take all that input? How do we take that brand? How do we take that kind of consumer expectation around that brand and turn it into an experience that has all those things but makes sense on a small screen? And we're fortunate that we have a really good reference point for what that looks like now as a business. Now, if you're not familiar with Madden Mobile, which you may not be if you're based in Canada, we get a lot of puzzled looks sometimes when we talk about NFL. It's had a great couple of years. It's had what we believe is kind of a breakthrough 2 years. It's just had a nice long run of continued engagement within a growing user base. It was top 1 grossing in the US last year over Christmas, has a peak DAU of over 3.5 during the peak seasons. Its peak revenue days are in the multiple of millions, so it's had a really great run, which is fantastic for the business of Madden Mobile and fantastic for the small team that have built the game. But it's actually really good for us as a sports business because we can take those learnings and create like a framework or a recipe for success that's really redefined how we think about what a sports mobile game needs to be in order to be successful. So for the purpose of today, I've tried to distill what is quite a complex framework that we've created and learnings and all that kind of stuff into kind of 3 really simple high-level buckets. First one is about fitting into a mobile gamer's life. I won't speak about this a lot because I know everybody in the room understands it, but it was a big shift, to be candid, for us as an organization. It's about, we know that mobile gamers play differently. They play shorter sessions, longer sessions. They play on buses. They play in totally different contexts than what our gamers previously, or what we thought our gamers previously played in, where we were used to an environment where a gamer would purchase a product, a packaged good product, spend a bunch of money doing that, a bunch of money on the hardware, and then they'd sit down for a couple of hours every evening or longer over the weekends and really get into gaming. This is totally different. And for the longest time, we tried to make that old approach work. We tried to change and convince ourselves that mobile gamers expected that high quality, high fidelity. That was our USP, that was our strength. And it really wasn't. What we really needed to do was turn our games into an experience that actually fitted into the life of a mobile gamer instead of the other way around. Live services, like anything for EA Sports, authenticity is absolutely key. And it's that live service, it's that direct connection to the real world of sports. So if I'm playing a soccer game on my mobile, how do I weave content and the experience into the actual world of soccer? That's where we bring authenticity that we just can't be matched by anybody else in the market, and we know our players want this. And then finally, it's about social. It's about encouraging competition and connection amongst our player bases. So if we talk really quickly about each one of those, innovative gameplay to fit into mobile gamers' life. This is one of the biggest changes and true areas of innovation in the Madden mobile game, where we took an old approach, where we used to have an approach of we basically took a console game that was high quality, great engagement amongst the player base on console, award-winning, all that kind of great stuff, and try to put it directly on a mobile phone. And it didn't really work because the games were all over a gig. You required about 10 at least minutes, if not longer, to play a game, and the controls were super difficult. It was just a hard experience for a mobile phone, not rocket science, but that's what we tried to do for a bunch of time. It just didn't work. What we did with this game, our objective was actually to create a gameplay experience, a meaningful gameplay experience that could be completed in 30 seconds and also give the player a reward. So a complete feedback loop of gameplay and reward within 30 seconds. And that's, I think, again, the true area of innovation or just change for us with this game, is that we're able to do that. We're able to take the high quality gameplay out of Madden HD, which is super high fidelity, crazy complexity around animation, etc., and turn that into short, bite-sized gameplay loops that could be completed in 30 seconds. We knew when we started prototyping this a couple of years ago, we knew it would be fun. As soon as you kind of cut it down into short experiences that you can play in 30 seconds while you're waiting for a cup of coffee or whatever it is, we knew people would like it. To be honest, we didn't know people would like it as much as they do like it. Over 99, actually I was told this morning, 99.7% of our players play live events. So obviously it's popular, it's had far more adoption than any other mode in any other sports game that we put on mobile. And we know that over 30 billion live events were completed in Madden Mobile in the last year alone. So that much of consumption, that much of engagement in a product that's just North American focused, and while it has a big audience, isn't that huge compared to some other mobile games, is just a huge supporter of the fact that people love this way of playing sports games on a mobile phone. So we'll quickly have a look at what that looks like if you haven't played Madden. Log into the game, you have all these live events, a carousel of live events, you click on a live event. Live events can be really a whole range of different types of things. Skill-based drills, training drills, completing part of a game. This is a running drill. All you have to do is pick your play, pick your run that you want to play, and then your job is to score some touchdowns. Here it's about running through zones, completing a pass, also score a touchdown. Some other scenarios like this one are just about, avoiding obstacles and getting down to the end zone. Really simple, really accessible. Again, and then from here, when you complete it, you get your reward. And the beauty about this is it's immediate positive feedback. And what it does is contribute toward the meta, or the kind of longer term goals of the game, which is around building my team, building my squad, and ideally creating the ultimate Madden NFL team. So really easy to play. The beauty of it, it changes every day. Every single day we have at least 3, if not 5, 6 plus live events that get added to the map. They're linked to bigger and broader campaigns. The variety of the gameplay is different every day. So not only is it easy to play, quick to dip in and dip out, but it's different every single day. Secondly, it's that live service that we spoke about in terms of authenticity with sport. For us, live service is about giving our players a reason to come back each and every day. Now that's obviously the job of anyone that builds a mobile game, is you want to increase the engagement and ideally the retention of that game. We're quite lucky because we have that narrative sport that we can just purely lean into. It's almost an unfair advantage against other sports, against other mobile games, to be honest. For us, again, it's giving those players a reason to kind of constantly come back. We add new content to the map each and every day, and then every month we create what we call bigger campaigns. And those campaigns are where we connect all the different game modes in the game with all the content that's in the game and being added to the game, and we give it a creative theme or a wrapper that pulls all that together. Now those creative themes or wrappers can be linked directly to the sport. So for Madden it might be a campaign around the Super Bowl, for example, or maybe draft. But also what we've done this year, which is a little bit different and a little bit inauthentic, is we've started to connect those campaigns to things that are happening in the real world that aren't Madden or NFL specific. So we have a Halloween theme, we have a Thanksgiving theme, we have a Christmas theme. That a couple of years ago, anyone that worked for Madden would have been incredibly unhappy with the very suggestion that we would have a Thanksgiving theme within the game where you could earn drumsticks and mashed potato and all that kind of crazy stuff, because it's not that authentic. But what we've found over time is that our players just love it. They love any new reason to engage in the game, any new content, anything that's collectible that allows them to continue to build their longer term goals within the game. So if we look at how that manifests itself, this is a semi-recent one for the draft. You come into the game, the art's different, the messaging is different, you know that something is different about the game, you know it's draft time, it points you to game experiences, content impacts, a variety of different things. You come back into the live events, this time there's a draft themed live event where you can play, again, one of those skill-based drills. You can actually use the players that are in the draft lineup for that evening. You can play this for a number of days before the draft. Again, you complete these relatively simple pieces of gameplay and you earn the rewards. This time the rewards are kind of themed in that kind of idea of the draft. We create a number of kind of collectibles and rewards that go towards the broader mode that we call sets, which is our kind of collection mechanic within Madden. The idea is you earn rewards that are draft themed. The actual nice bit of this is it's the most direct link to the draft of any other interactive experience, because the content that we're putting in packs live all the way through the evening. We had a team at the draft, was as soon as their player got drafted onto their new team for the following year, that player was available in a pack as a reward on their new team within minutes of being drafted. So if you're following the draft, if you're a hardcore or even a remotely engaged NFL fan, you could play Madden Mobile minutes after a draft had been completed with a player that had just moved on to their new team in their new kit. So truly, that's just the most fun and engaging but also authentic experience, and far earlier than you would see it in console or other kind of mediums. So really great level of engagement around these kind of key beats for us. And then finally, social features. We know social is important. David mentioned guilds and clans earlier, which is a big thing to drive deeper engagements. For us, social features allow our players to connect and play cooperatively in what we call leagues, which is effectively guilds. They also can compete against each other in head-to-head modes, and they can also use social media to kind of celebrate their successes and rewards from within the game. We know that players that interact with their social features engage in the game deeper and they stay longer, which is pretty indicative of most games. But we also know that Madden Mobile and the players of Madden Mobile interacted with our social features about 600% more in the last 2 years than they previously had done, which has obviously been a big driver for the success that we've seen in the product. So social is really big for us, and it's kind of a big part of the kind of future plans around the product. If you look really quickly, this is kind of the leagues mode, again, which is very much like guilds. You can log into your guild or your league screen. You see all the different leagues that you're currently competing against. This is a live bracket about my league against another league. I can see how we're going, how each person has scored. If I drill into my league screen, I can chat with my teammates as well as the teammates of our opposing league, so we can kind of talk some trash talk or whatever it might be. Then I can also pick the players in the opposing league that I want to play against. And then from there I go directly into game. So I can pick who I want to play with, immediately compete against them. Ideally I would win, which would give me rewards as a player, but also give my league rewards. So again, that cooperative aspect of a league or a guild, our league would progress up the ladder, and the longer term goal in Madden Mobile for anyone who's hardcore, who stays a long time in the game, is to be part of a league, to play in that league, and for that league to go up the ladder board or the leaderboard of leagues and to hit the top 100. And it's all about being a top 100 league once you've been in the game beyond about a month. So this is really where we've driven a huge amount of deeper engagement, and we know that people that spend time in this mode convert better, spend better, and then they just stay longer in the game. So it's a super important part of the game for us. So that's the lessons, if you like, at a super high level. I know I've gone quite high level for the time I have, but I'll happily answer any specific questions about any of that. For us, it's great because we have a framework that we can use to continually develop the product going forward, but it's even better because we have a sports business, and that sports business has more than one product, and it's not just about Madden. And now it's about using that recipe and apply it to other sports, even bigger sports that we have the brands and the IPs already attached to. So the next one is NBA. Huge global sport, 450 million fans worldwide versus 150, 175 of the NFL, so it's a huge opportunity. And again, it's an opportunity for us to take that framework, take that recipe for what makes for a good sports game and apply it to another brand and another franchise that we already have a relationship with. We already have products in this space, we already have a consumer base and a kind of community that we're already engaging. So this is the next game. It's actually built here in Canada. Soft launched in Canada, worldwide launch next week. This is a quick clip. Uses all the same core components of the meta around Madden, around short gameplay, live events connected to the world of NBA. NBA is great because with the NFL there's only 20-something games a year. NBA has 88 games a year, so there's a lot more of that sport narrative for us to kind of lean into and really leverage the brand of the NBA. So that's NBA Live with Russell with a really weird expression on his face. And that's it. So we're bringing the biggest sports and athletes and the biggest brands to mobile. We have high aspirations for what we can do with that, and we think we have a player base that we can engage in a really effective way going forward. So that's it. Thank you.